I made an example problem here that I want to take you through so that it will help you do the homework problems you have for Chapter 2. So let's go to the problem. Draw the hierarchy chart and design a logic for a program that calculates service charges for the Damascus Road Moving Service. The program contains housekeeping, detail loop, and end-of-loop modules. The main program declares any needed global variables and constants and calls the other modules. The housekeeping module displays a prompt for and accepts a customer's last name. While the user does not enter ZZZZ for the name, the detail loop accepts the number of rooms with contents to be moved and the number of miles to the new location. The service charge is computed as $125 for each room plus $5 for each mile between locations. The detail loop prompts the user for the next customer's name, the end of job module, which executes after the user enters the sentinel value for the name, displays a message that indicates the program is complete. Well, the hierarchy chart is pretty simple in this case. I just bring over 4 rectangles from the shapes on the left and I put them in. So the main program is going to use the housekeeping module, detail loop module, and the end of job module. So that part, not too bad. Page 2. What I did first was create the pseudocode. So I wrote this thing out in pseudocode first. Alright. I make my declarations. I create a string for the customer's last name, the number of rooms, number of miles, the charge for rooms, $125, and the charge for miles. There's the string called quit, which equals the ZZZZ. The string name prompt, which would enter the customer's last name or ZZZ to quit. The rooms prompt enters the number of rooms, miles prompt enters the number of miles, and the end line says thank you for using the program. So this is the last thing that will be displayed once the ZZZZ is entered into the program. So then the main program is this. It is start, declarations, then it goes to a housekeeping module, then it has a while loop in it. While the customer's last name is less than or greater than quit, and that's another way of saying not equal to. While the customer's last name is not equal to quit, go to the detail loop. End while. When the ZZZZ is entered, you go to end while, you skip the detail loop, and you go out of the job, end of job, and then you stop. Okay? So now, that's the main program. But now I have to show what's going on in each of the modules. Here's the housekeeping module. It's pretty simple. The output is the name prompt. So a person looking at the screen, when they call up the program, first thing they're going to see is what's the customer's last name. They input the customer's last name and then it returns. And it goes through the while loop. And if ZZZZ has not been entered, it'll go to the detail loop. The detail loop is this. It outputs the rooms prompt. It asks, in other words, the user sitting in front of the computer will see the question, enter the number of rooms. They will then enter the number of rooms, input the number of rooms. Then there'll be an output prompt, miles prompt, and the user will look at the screen and they'll see input the number of miles. Then it'll do its process. It'll do the service charge, which is the number of rooms times the charge for the rooms, the number of miles times the charge for the miles. Add those two together and you get the service charge. So let's output the service charge. So the individual user now has inputted a name, inputted the number of rooms, inputted the miles between destinations, and the computer has calculated what the service charge is and has printed it on the screen. And now what it does is it does what housekeeping did up here. It asks it again down here, output the name prompt and input the customer's last name. The reason you do that is that if you did not have that here in this loop, then the computer would only do it one time. You would turn the program on and it would say output the name prompt. You put a name in there, say Jones, and it would go down through once and come out, and it would just sit there. Having printed out the information for Jones, it will just sit there because the user hasn't seen a request for another prompt. So we have to put a request for another prompt in there, and that's where we do it in the detail loop. So we do it first in the housekeeping loop. That gets the ball rolling, and assuming that ZZZZ has not been entered, it'll go through the detail loop, and at the end of the detail loop we ask it to do the same thing that we ask it to do in housekeeping. We say output the name and input the customer's last name. So now if Jones was first, sitting on the screen will be the service charge for Jones. And now we're going to ask again for another name. Give me another name. And it might be Smith. So now Smith is the new name. So Smith will go through, and now the computer will show those two until they and a prompt. So it'll show Jones, it'll show Smith, and then it'll say input customer name. It'll ask for another name. Okay, and when the user is ready to quit, they type in ZZZZ, and it will skip this loop and drop down to the end of job. Okay, so that is the detail loop, and then the end of job is pretty simple. It outputs the end line, which says thanks for using the program, and stops. And now no more memory is being used. This program is now over. It has stopped. Okay, so now that's how it looks in pseudocode, and then I drew it out here on the flowcharts. This took me a while. Here is the here's the first page of it. Start goes to the declarations, then to the housekeeping module, then it goes down to the while loop. This is the loop here. Basically says, is the customer name equal to, is it not equal, I'm sorry, is it equal to quit? I'm asking this wrong. Is the customer name less than or greater than quit? And if it is less than or greater than quit, then it goes and does the detail loop until it gets ZZZZ, and then when it does, the answer to that question will be no, and it'll go to the end of job module and stop. So that's the flow chart for that one. And then here's housekeeping. That's the main program. Here's housekeeping, just like we did in our pseudocode. Laid it all out. Now there's one more page. Here's page 4. Laid it all out for the detail loop, and then laid it out for end of job. So that's basically what happens. Now in the detail loop, you can check right here. Well, let me increase the size of this. There we go. There's the actual process, the calculation. I've had the user enter the number of rooms and enter the number of miles. And now the process is simple from there. The service charge is going to be equal to the number of rooms times the charge for rooms plus the number of miles times the charge of miles. You have to be careful about putting in these parentheses, or you will run afoul of the mathematical operator rules. Okay, one of the rules that's a golden rule is that it does what's in the parentheses first. So if I have it multiply the charge per rooms times the number of rooms first because I put it in parentheses, then it'll do this one, and then it'll add the two, and I'll get the right answer. But it might not be the right answer if I have it without the parentheses. Okay, so very careful on how you present your math. Alright, so it outputs the service charge, then it outputs the name prompt again so that we can keep the cycle going, so that on the computer screen the user will see that it's time to put in another name, and they either put in another customer name or they put in ZZZZ, and then this end of the detail loop quits. Okay, and then the last one up here at the top is the end of job, which let me shrink it back down. Control Shift W to shrink it down. There it is. And that just is the detail loop, which basically puts out the prompt, outputs the prompt, thank you for using this program, and stops. That's it. So it took me a couple minutes to describe this to you. It took me around 10 minutes to describe this to you, and it probably takes a good hour and a half to do all these charts and do the pseudo chart and so forth. So it's time consuming, but it's how we learn programming. It's how we learn how to do it. Okay, so if you have any questions on any of this, please come to the forum, a facilitator forum, or send me an email. Thank you.